And then it also goes into, you know, pushing your comfort zones throughout your time there, through outdoor education trips, maybe taking new classes you hadn't had experience with, trying out new sports or extracurricular activities. There are just so many ways to challenge yourself and to grow as an individual throughout your time there.
I'm Glenn Herbert, and I'm an editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private schools to gain insights into their programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administrators. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
Well, the thing I appreciate most is that close-knit, that caring environment that they have at the school. One of their main core values is that each boy is known and loved at the school, and it's not just a saying. Like, they really do carry through on that, and you do really feel that as a student. Just one anecdote from my experience. So I started in grade 7. It was obviously a bit of an intimidating situation, switching schools. I went to public school before, so switching to a private school, it was all different. I was wearing a uniform for the first time. It was a big adjustment. And about 2 days after I started at Royal St. George's, I broke my leg very, very badly in a soccer match, and I ended up in the hospital for about a week and had to miss about the first month and a half of school. So that made that adjustment phase like even tougher, because I was going through a lot personally on top of, you know, that big move. And the one thing that really stood out to me was just how caring everyone was at the school. While I was in the hospital, actually, our headmaster, Mr. Beatty, he actually visited me in the hospital. And I'd maybe met him once or twice up to that point, because he actually started as the headmaster the same year that I started as a student. So it's not like we knew each other much before that, but the fact that he took the time out of his day to come and visit me in the hospital and say, you know, we're all thinking about you at the school. You know, this is like a really tough position. It meant the world to me, and to my parents as well. And then I was in a wheelchair for quite a bit when I first started at the school, when I was able to come back. And I just had so many teachers, from, you know, my friends, my immediate teachers, all the way up to the top ranks of the school. Everyone was looking out for me, and everyone was caring about me. And I think that's something really special about Royal St. George's. And, you know, that's just one example. I've many more throughout my time there, but that really is the main quality, I would say, that I appreciated in my time there. Well, I think again, it's that close community that they have, and it's the fact that they're able to really cater around each boy's individual needs. I think because it is such a small school, and the faculty do get to know each boy so well. So what was best for me at the school was not maybe what was best for another boy, and I think the faculty and the way the school's set up, it's really good at identifying everyone's challenges and everyone's strengths, and trying to maximize everyone's opportunity, and try to build each boy to become the best version of himself throughout their time at RSGC. Sometimes that's, you know, lending a hand, like I used in my previous example, when times are tough. And then there's other times where sometimes, you know, as a teenage boy, you maybe need a little bit of steering and guidance in the right direction. You know, there's one example. When I was going into my last year in grade 12, I was deciding between going into the AP calculus class, so the university level calculus class, or the regular stream. And I was going into my last year in high school. I thought, you know, I don't want to be too bogged down in work, so I signed up for the regular stream. But then just before the start of the school year, one of my old math teachers, and he was my tennis coach also at RSGC, so I knew him quite well. He called my home phone and asked to speak to me, and he said, you know, you should be in that AP class. You're definitely strong enough, and it will benefit you in university. And I put up a bit of resistance, but eventually followed his advice and took the class, and it did quite well. And as he predicted, it helped me tremendously in university. So it's just that I think that level of care, and they do really kind of go the extra mile to make sure that every boy is maximizing their opportunity, and that every boy feels welcomed, and that they're given that appropriate opportunity to excel. I think that is something that is quite rare and special about Royal St. George's. In terms of personality, it would be very kind. That would probably be the first one I would say. It's something that the faculty preach constantly throughout your time is kindness, treating others with respect. One of the school's main mottos is manners maketh men, and that's really drilled into everyone from a very young age, depending on when you start at the school. And you really do see that people hold the door open for each other. You always get greeted with a handshake, and people always have tremendous manners. I mean, I remember we would always stand up when an adult entered the classroom. So it's just little things like that, just I think would add to the kindness aspect. I guess I'd also say if it was a person, it'd be intelligent, because the academic side of Royal St. George's is very rigorous, and it does have a very diverse offering, especially considering that it's a fairly small school of courses. And like I mentioned before, you do have the opportunity to take various first-year university level courses in high school, which is a tremendous opportunity to any student. And I guess lastly, I would say it would be a person that is open to exploring new things and willing to push their comfort zone. It's a school that really, I think, challenges everyone to try different things throughout their time there, and to really push their boundaries. And I think that's something that, looking back now, I'm extremely grateful for. One example is when you enter in grade 7, like I did, you actually have to take music every day of the week, which is quite rare for a school. And part of that goes back to the school's roots. It was originally founded as a boys' choir school, and that tradition's been carried forward, and you essentially get a choice to choose either band or choir when you enter in grade 7. And for a lot of people, they haven't maybe had a lot of exposure to music before, but the fact that the school provides that environment for that everyone has to take music, and it allows people to maybe explore different parts of themselves that they hadn't otherwise seen before. And I saw so many examples of people who maybe would have never joined a choir otherwise, but by going to the school, they really found a new passion for themselves. And I think that's something that's also just really tremendous and unique about the school that I definitely appreciated. Well, I think first and foremost is kindness. I think because that is such a big part of the school's identity, and it is something that is taught continuously throughout your time there. Royal St. George's is a school that breeds really kind, respectful young men. So I'd say that's absolutely what I would say is the most common trait amongst everyone. And it's a really amazing environment to be in. And even now, 4 years after I graduated from the school, my closest friends are all still from Royal St. George's. And I'm really proud to call them friends, because they're really great young men. And that's something that's extremely special. And then, sorry, can you remind me of your second question that you asked?
Sort of, what does it take to succeed at the school?
Right.
Like, which personality traits definitely help and kind of foster that success?
I would say openness would be the best trait. I think, and that kind of goes two ways. One is the openness to try new things, like I mentioned earlier. I mentioned the music aspect already, but equally so outside of the classroom, there are a lot of outdoor education opportunities. Every year they like to do an outdoor ed trip where you get exposed to the wilderness. I mean, one year I went dog sledding for 5 days, where you're staying in yurts overnight, having to build your own fires, boil your own water. Very different experience to living in Toronto, but it was an amazing experience, formed great memories there. Um, and I think the openness as well to just grow as a person and to take the challenges offered by the school. And it is a really small environment, so it gives the opportunity to truly be yourself, and not have to put on an image for anyone. And it's a school where, being in a boys choir singing a falsetto is actually really cool. Whereas at other schools, it might have a different environment around it. And I think just fully embracing that and knowing that you can be yourself and that, you will be loved for it, and people will appreciate you. I think that is something that is also very common throughout the school. Well, first and foremost is kindness and respect, and to do the right thing. That's something that they do teach continuously throughout your time there. And when you leave in grade 12 and go out into the world, I think that's a common trait that defines all alumni of the school, is that we all really value respect and kindness. And that's getting taught that at a young age. It's something that carries forward for the rest of your life. And that's something that I really felt personally. I would say other values would be giving back to the community. There's a really strong focus on community service at the school. Of course, I think every high school in Toronto, you have to meet those 40 hours of community service to graduate. But they actually go a step further at Royal St. George's. And I remember in grade 7 and 8, to graduate from the junior school, you had to do 20 hours of community service, which is not common at a lot of other schools. And it gets you focused on that mindset of giving back from a young age, which I think is extremely valuable. And they also usually run, I'm sure it's been disrupted by COVID, but in normal times they run volunteer trips to different parts of the world. So I was lucky enough to partake in 2 of them. I did one to Nicaragua when I was in grade 8 and one to Nepal when I was in grade 10. And those were amazing experiences. You get to see different parts of the world and give back to not just your close community, but also the broader global community. So I'd say that's another huge value that I would say is emphasized by the school. I think the most surprising thing would just be how much of a second home it felt like. When I woke up in the morning and went to school, it didn't really feel like I was just going to school. It felt like I was going to sort of a second home in a sense. And I think it's something that maybe I took for granted while I was at the school, because that's what I had known for a long time. But then transitioning to university, where you're one of thousands of students, and people don't necessarily know your name or know your story. I think now, having that perspective, it just makes me so much more grateful that I did have that experience in middle school and high school. And yeah, I think it was straight from when I came for my first open house day. It was that feeling of comfort, that you were cared for. And I think, and it's not just a show, it's not just for the open house. That is how I felt every single day when I walked into the school, which is extremely special. And it did surprise me, of course, as well, just how much of a home it felt like. And when I graduated in grade 12, it was quite sad, because it almost felt like you were leaving a family behind and moving on. And yeah, so I would say that was really kind of one of the most surprising things. Of course, a very pleasant surprise. Absolutely. I think I would not be the person I am today if I hadn't attended that school. I think how much they do emphasize kindness through those things like manners maketh men. From your first day at the school, they teach you how to do a proper handshake and look someone in the eye. They teach you to hold the door open for others. It's just little things like that. And just the way the students interact with each other, the way teachers interact with the students, it just constantly reinforces building kind young men who are very respectful. And I think that that is absolutely a quality that's carried through today. And I can see that those roots in myself, those really came from Royal St. George's. I would also say in terms of confidence, the school gave me the environment that I needed to really flourish. I think academically, socially, and mentally as well. It was just the perfect atmosphere that allowed me to go into my university studies feeling very confident in myself and confident in the path that I was on going forward. And that I was on the right path for me and had taken the right choices throughout the way, because I'd had so much amazing guidance from the faculty at the school. And I think that's absolutely just, that momentum is carried through to this day. So it's absolutely had a huge impact on me as a person. So I would say the biggest thing for me is because it is such a small school, and it's located in downtown Toronto, where space is at a premium. And I'm a really big sports player. I played on the volleyball and tennis team throughout most of my years at Royal St. George's. But I always had a dream growing up of playing high school football. But it's just the reality with the size of the school and the lack of sports facilities. There's just no way to make a football team work at the school. I remember I had another good friend in my grade who felt similarly and also wanted to have a football team, and we sort of started petitioning teachers and staff about, how would this be possible. And to their credit, they took us seriously. I think we were in grade 7 or 8 at the time, so just pretty young, but they took us completely seriously. Our headmaster, Mr. Beatty, actually arranged a meeting with us where he came to his office and we sort of laid out our proposal, and then he told us the realities of the situation of why it wouldn't work, and we obviously realized that he was right. But I think that would be, if there was one thing in a perfect world, to maybe have those extra sporting facilities, just to have those kind of that extra sporting edge that maybe is just not practical with the way that the school's set up. But on the flip side, it's also amazing being in that small school environment and being located more in downtown Toronto. It means you have much better access to facilities, field trips, and whatnot. So it kind of goes both ways, but in a perfect world, I would say that would be one thing I might change. Yeah, well, I kind of already touched on this a bit already, just how special that environment was, of how much you're cared for, and how much people were really invested in you becoming the best version of yourself. I think once you leave that environment and go into university, where you're one of thousands of students again, it puts it into perspective, and it made me very grateful that I had that experience and those opportunities when I was younger at Royal St. George's. I would say in addition to that, I've been surprised at how strong the alumni community is. And I still feel very much a part of the Royal St. George's community, even though I'm 4 years down the line since I graduated. One example of that is that our headmaster and our university advisor, I think just recently retired, they actually did a UK alumni trip last year in the fall, I believe. And this was pre-COVID, it was fall of 2019, I think. And they did a UK alumni tour, and they actually came up to the small town of Scotland that I was in, St. Andrews. There's one other alumnus of the school who was also studying at the university, and they took us out for dinner. We had a great night. It was great to catch up with them, but it was just that they would go that extra mile to go and see you and see how you're doing. I really appreciate it, and I didn't really expect that there would be so much effort still after I've graduated to keep that community intact. There's also tons of alumni events that go on. I haven't been able to attend as many of them as I would have liked over the past few years, just because I have been living in the UK, but I have many friends who have attended them, and I think just the fact that that community stays with you after you've left the school is something that, of course, offers a different perspective for me now. Well, first, I would say, as I mentioned in a lot of these answers, is for that community. It's really special and really rare. The community that is fostered at Royal St. George's, the fact that everyone from your fellow peers to the faculty, everyone is so invested in making sure you have the best experience possible and making sure that you're able to make the most of the opportunities available to you. I think that's something that really blew my mind away, looking back on my experiences at the school. So I'd say first and foremost, that would be one reason. A second reason would be the academic side. Royal St. George's does offer very strong academics. Like I mentioned, there's a variety of advanced placement courses to take. In addition, this isn't something that I took part of because I was more on the business liberal arts side of things, but I know for others there's a really great computer science program that they have at the school. And I know many people who were involved in that, they loved it and have gone on to have a lot of success in university because of that. So that the academic side and the breadth of opportunities that you have, especially for a small school environment, I would say would be a second reason. And then the third, I would say, is the real emphasis that the school places on becoming a better person on top of just academics, getting good marks and getting into a good school. They place just as much of an emphasis on becoming a better person and becoming the best version of yourself. So it goes through things like teaching you, the right manners, and then it also goes into pushing your comfort zones throughout your time there, through outdoor education trips, maybe taking new classes you hadn't had experience with, trying out new sports or extracurricular activities. There are just so many ways to challenge yourself and to grow as an individual throughout your time there, and it's very hands-on. And then the faculty, really want you to make the most of those opportunities, as opposed to it just kind of being open for you to go into something that maybe you do get a lot of guidance throughout the way. And I think that extra mile that the school goes really does allow you to grow as a person on top of as a student. I would say just for parents, just to know that your boy is just going to be really cared for at the school. I think from my parents' perspective, that is by far the best quality that they saw in the school. They knew that every day I was going to a great place for myself where I'd be able to grow in so many different ways. And it goes back to that first experience I mentioned, where the headmaster came to visit me in the hospital. That blew my parents away, and it gave them a lot of reassurance that they had chosen the right school, and that people were looking out for me and really cared about me. So I would say that would be my main thing, is that people really will care about your kid and want them to succeed. And if they're doing well, they'll have so many opportunities available to them. If they're struggling, there are so many resources available, whether it's mental health counselors, or just any form of academic guidance. There's just so much support available. So no matter what situation any kid is in, I think that Royal St. George's can provide the right resources to make sure that they have the best possible experience. My one piece of advice would be to go in with an open mind and be ready to challenge yourself and be ready to explore new opportunities, because I think that's one of the great things about the school. There are just so many different opportunities to try new things, whether it be from the broad range of extracurricular programs. If you haven't tried music before, there's amazing music program at the school, or whether it be traveling abroad on different service trips. I would say just maximize all of the great variety of opportunities that are available to you, because when you leave that environment and go to university, if you have pushed yourself to push your comfort zone, try new things in those years, you're gonna notice the payback later on. You're gonna be a more confident and more well-rounded person. So that would be really my main piece of advice.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.